The man accused of murdering 4 University of Idaho students is being held without bail this morning. That was denied during his first court appearance in Idaho yesterday.
Bryan Kohberger charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of burglary. Kohberger was in court yesterday, shortly after police released that first detailed court document in this case.
Because of the probable cause affidavit, we now know more about what happened in the early morning hours of November 13th when Kaylee, Madison, Xana, and Ethan were stabbed to death, and even a little more about the weeks leading up to the murders. Our team up in Moscow was in court for Kohberger's appearance.
Let's get right to investigative reporter Morgan Romero, who's been covering what's been happening in Moscow for us this week. Morgan.
Good morning. Bryan Kohberger had his first court appearance in front of an Idaho judge on Thursday morning. The courtroom was packed in a small courtroom in the Latah County Courthouse. It held approximately 75 people, but there was media from all over, first come, first serve. So our crew got here early to try to get a spot inside that courtroom. Our Alexandra Duggan was inside the courtroom and was able to see Bryan Kohberger in person for the first time. She said when the judge read the charges against him, he was tense but otherwise pretty emotionless, simply saying yes when asked if he understood the charges against him. He was wearing an orange jumpsuit. His public defender was appointed in that hearing, and she said that Bryan Kohberger has a strong family who stands behind him. This hearing, though, this initial appearance was very quick. It wasn't really what happened in that hearing that we've gained a lot of information from today. It was the probable cause affidavit that shed more light on why investigators believe that Bryan Kohberger was the one who committed these atrocious crimes. An 18-page, very detailed affidavit said that investigators believe Bryan Kohberger is responsible because they were able to link him to the crime scene through DNA, video surveillance of his car, and cell phone records.
Inside this courthouse, where Bryan Kohberger had his first court appearance in Idaho, a Latah County magistrate judge read him his charges. 1 count of burglary for unlawfully entering 1122 King Road with the intent to commit murder, and 4 counts of first-degree murder.
Count 2 alleges that you committed the felony offense of murder in the first degree. It alleges that the defendant, Bryan C. Kohberger, on or about November 13th, 2022, in Latah County, state of Idaho, did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation, and with malice aforethought, kill and murder Madison Mogan, kill and murder Xana Kernodle, kill and murder Ethan Chapin, kill and murder Kaylee Gonsalves.
If found guilty, he could face life in prison or death. His public defender was appointed, and the judge issued a no-contact order for the victims' families. The judge also issued no bail, as Kohberger sits in the Latah County Jail.
I am going to leave the bail set in this case as no bail at this point in time until I have additional or further information at a later date and time.
19 pages, 1 redacted, of details in the case came out through a probable cause affidavit Thursday morning. The document shows law enforcement was watching Kohberger early on in the investigation, about 2 weeks after the murders. At the time, police publicly said they had no person of interest, and they kept information close to the vest, which frustrated many. The PCA says Xana and Ethan were found on the 2nd floor of the King Street home. Maddie and Kaylee were found in a bed together on the 3rd floor. In the bed next to Maddie, investigators say they noticed a tan leather knife sheath, which is a cover for the blade of a knife. They figured out it was a K-bar knife with Marine Corps insignia. The Idaho State Lab found a single source of male DNA on the sheath. They then compared it to trash they took from the Kohberger family home in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania on December 27th. They say the DNA from the sheath was a nearly 100% match to that of the suspect's father. According to the affidavit, the 2 surviving roommates told police everyone was home by 2 a.m. and in their rooms by 4 a.m. One of the roommates says she was woken up around 4. She thought Kaylee was playing with her dog upstairs, which officers say they heard barking on a neighbor's security camera around the time of the murders. The affidavit says the roommate heard one of the victims say, "There's someone here," but she didn't see anything. She says she opened her door again after she heard crying from Xana's room, and a man say, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." Then, when she opened her door a 3rd time, she saw a person in black, wearing a mask covering the bottom of their face. She described him as tall, with an athletic build but not muscular, and with bushy eyebrows. He walked past her to the backsliding door, and she stood in a, quote, frozen shock phase. Investigators believe the murders happened between 4 and 4:25 a.m. November 13th. The 911 call wasn't made until around noon from one of the roommates' phones inside the home. On surveillance video they reviewed, investigators saw a Hyundai Elantra driving by the home multiple times around the time of the murders. Investigators learned Kohberger drove a Hyundai Elantra, and through cell phone records, investigators discovered he had been by the King Road home at least 12 times before the murders since the summer, mostly in the evenings and early morning. What the probable cause affidavit doesn't show is whether there are any connections between Kohberger and any of the people he's accused of killing. Outside the courthouse, after Thursday's hearing, the Gonsalves family gave a short statement to reporters through their attorney.
It's obviously an emotional time for the family, seeing the defendant for the first time. This is the beginning of the criminal justice system, and the family will be here for the long haul.
Kohberger's next court appearance in Latah County is January 12th at 10 a.m. Pacific time. That'll be a status conference, and during that conference, they will set a preliminary hearing. And that preliminary hearing is also referred to as a probable cause hearing, where we expect to learn a little bit more information, perhaps about why investigators believe Kohberger is the one responsible. Reporting in Moscow, Morgan Romero, Idaho's News Channel 7.
Morgan, thank you. Shocking new details are revealed in the unsealed probable cause affidavit. You just heard some of them. Investigators released that shortly before Kohberger's court appearance yesterday. We find out where he allegedly was before and after the murders.
And a lot more. They were able to build a detailed timeline of the events here, and starting with the early morning hours of November 13th when this crime happened. Kohberger's car was seen driving past the house on King Road several times before the murders. That's where the murders happened.
Moscow Police Department Corporal Brett Payne, who wrote the PCA, says that is not common in a neighborhood where traffic is usually very light, especially early in the morning. Our Abby Davis digs into how police tracked him.
According to the affidavit, a car matching Kohberger's, a white Hyundai Elantra, was seen on camera at 2:53 a.m. on November 13th, leaving Pullman, Washington, heading toward Moscow. That's about a 15-minute drive. That same Elantra was picked up again at 3:26 a.m. heading west on Indian Hills Drive. Then 2 minutes later, heading west on Steiner at Highway 95, which is less than a mile from the house on King Road where the murders happened. Starting at 3:29, the Elantra was seen passing the house 3 times. At 4:04, the Elantra turned around at a nearby apartment complex before going back and making a 3-point turn onto Queen Road. 16 minutes later, at 4:20, Kohberger's white Elantra is seen on camera speeding away from the area, heading south. About an hour later, at 5:25, several traffic cameras in Pullman and on the Washington State University campus captured the Elantra returning. Fast forward 12 days, on November 25th, the Moscow Police Department asked area law enforcement to look for a white Hyundai Elantra. Then, on November 29th, WSU police found a 2015 Hyundai Elantra registered to a student, 28-year-old Bryan Kohberger, a graduate student studying criminology. His car was found about a half hour later at his WSU apartment complex in Pullman. His driver's license picture and information also matched the roommate's description of the man she saw in the house the morning of the murders. That pushed Moscow police to look into Kohberger's cell phone data, a number they got after pulling him over for a traffic violation back in August, before the murders. At 2:42 a.m. on November 13th, Kohberger's phone pinged at his apartment in Pullman. 5 minutes later, that phone left the apartment, traveling south through Pullman before it's turned off at 2:47. The phone doesn't ping again until 4:48 on Highway 95 south of Moscow, near Blaine. It then traveled south on 95 to Genesee, then west to Uniontown, and then north back to Pullman, where a white sedan was picked up on traffic cameras at 5:27, taking a roundabout way to his final destination.
And again, police say the cell phone records match the movement of that Hyundai Elantra around the time of the murders. It did not ping at that King Road house, though, at the time of the murders, when the murders were actually happening between about 4 and 4:30 a.m. But investigators believe that's because Kohberger turned his phone off.
Not only that, Kohberger's phone pinged again, police say, hours after the murders happened near the King Road house.
So they think he came back.
Yep.
All right. Well, we're going to continue to follow this story and keep you updated as we learn a lot more about it. For the latest information and to read that affidavit for yourself, you can go to our website, KTVB.com. You can check us out on social media. And of course, we have our app as well. But you can read that PCA for yourself to see all those details.